Football was my first passion. It's a huge step coming out of high school to that next level of D1 athletics. It's super eye-opening. You go to practice and you're surrounded by the best of the best. I'm in love with competing and showing people what I can do in my sport. We're not just doing power stuff and bulking up and being super strong. We're being a versatile athlete. If you're not eating breakfast, you're not getting up, having some water in the morning, some electrolytes before you're going to practice, this isn't for you.
It seems like everything he does, he just crushes it.
I want to go to the Olympics. I just think that's wonderful.
It's always the overall goal. If I'm here, why not do it?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Tuesday, I am your co-host here, Chris Branson, at the YB Normal Show, along with the other co-host, my man, Mr. PD Pablo. What is up, baby?
Hello.
We're just sitting here today, and we have a special guest on today, just a fantastic human being. You guys are going to get to know him a lot, I think, here in the near future. Mr. Payton Shippee is with us today. So, Peyton, thank you for coming on, buddy. Appreciate you. And I can't wait to understand a little bit more about the Javelin than something I never kind of talk about today that's been, news to my ears. And I know Pete's been excited to have you on. And so we're just ready to dive into your career, pal, and see what this Javelin throwing's about you got going on there at Kent State.
Hey, Peyton, thanks for coming on, bud. And everybody who's watching, I've known Peyton. I've seen him grow from the little bean sprout to, he's as big as the door now, for Christ's sakes. And I've watched him play his sports and just grow and grow and grow. And it seems like everything he does, he just crushes it. And it's, because of the work that he puts in. But he graduated a couple years ago and went to Kent State. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he has a ride there to throw the javelin. And I wanted to have him on so he could talk about what it's like to be a D1 athlete, what it takes, and also just touch on some things that he's done in his athletic career. And we'll go through some of that throughout the day or throughout the cast. But Peyton, man, thanks for coming on. And, why don't you walk us through, D1 athletics?
Yeah, for sure. First off, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Love to talk about this stuff. Start off with it's a huge step coming out of high school, especially Pete. Where I grew up. It's not a huge population. So our high schools are pretty smaller, and we're always not playing the best athletes in sports. So when you go to that next level of D1 collegiate athletics, it's huge, super eye opening. You know what I mean? And I think for me, that was really the biggest wake up call, almost in the best way, motivating. You go to practice and you're surrounded by the best of the best. We had a kid last year, my freshman year, and he was, I think his PR was like a 9.98 in the 100 or something. And, you get to watch that at practice and be surrounded by that. And it's pretty hard to not mold to who you're surrounded by. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I've been throwing the javelin now for going to be 6 years this year. And the rule of thumb with throwing is you don't become elite at what you do unless you're at least 7 years into it. So you see these Olympians and professionals that are in the Diamond League and stuff, and they're the best of the best, but they've been throwing for anywhere between 10 to 13 years. So they're in that peak of 28 years old and, really exceeding in what they do. So I'm excited for the future and to, kind of grow up a little bit, be a little more wiser, a little more stronger, mentally and physically, and kind of see what the future holds.
So Peyton, just for those, out there that myself that just love sports, when you hear the javelin, that's not a sport or an athletic field that most people are in, there where you go, hey, I know a kid throws a javelin. And then when you dive and take a deeper dive, I guess, into it of the javelin. And I think it was 181. Is that right? Feet?
Yeah.
I think is your personal best.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So when I'm doing my math.
That was closer to high school. My personal best now is 205 feet.
205 feet.
I threw that freshman year.
Yeah. So Pete, what I'm saying to kids at home, when you're like, hey, let's go play football, like those play catch, you're not the ideal friend to go play catch with. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Go long. Are you sure, man? Like, I'm going to just throw a piss missile with this javelin at you. And to me, I just think that's fascinating. And then now know your aspirations of wanting to go to the Olympics, and me and having some people close to me that have been in the Olympics and to represent your country. I just think that's wonderful, dude. And so again, I can't thank you to before you go through
In
these
2028 that comes up, and you were telling me how it lines up with your career,
Yeah.
your career. And it's, I was talking to Peyton and I said, it's not like they have a professional javelin throwing league. Maybe they do. I don't know about it, but
right.
I would think that the pinnacle of a track and field athlete would be to be on the Olympic team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's everybody's goal at D1, which is like I was saying about the motivation part. Is I mean, there's hundreds of kids that are, I'm pretty good, and there's still hundreds of kids ahead of me that are better than me. But if I'm here, why not do it? And so the Olympics are in 2028, and I'll be a senior at that point. So we have our conference meet, which is technically postseason, and so we have our conference meet, which is like mid-May. And then hopefully by then I'm at the national championships, which would have technically been last week. And then the Olympics will be in August. So it just works out. You can keep training through. It sucks for some people, like say somebody graduated this year and they want to go to the Olympics. Now they have to train outside of the university under different professional coaching if you have a coach to be able to compete these next 2 years to then go to the Olympics. So for me and my teammate Kristen, she's amazing. She just got 16th at NCAA championships, meaning she's top 16 in the country for throwing javelin. I mean, get to practice with the best of the best. So for her, we could be right side by side and doing that stuff together. It's always the overall goal.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when you said when you're at practice and you're around all these cats who are just top notch athletes, I feel like it's infectious, right? Like
definitely.
My dad used to say, if you want to be a loser, you hang out with losers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, you hang out with successful people.
Definitely.
And Chris, you could speak to that in your business, right?
I would have to say that, typically success builds success, right? Iron sharpens iron. And so the reality of it, when you look at the position that obviously Peyton's going in right now, and he has been going in when he says that 6-year mark, now it sounds like Peyton, you're getting in the groove now to where stars are aligning, maybe God's plans coming in place. The Olympics just so happen to be when you're in still at Kent State University and you got those facilities and those coaches at your disposal, which is, I'm guessing from what you're making it sound like, that's a massive benefit in your direction versus the guy that just graduated, who's got to go find the coaching, find the right direction, try to live, in and out of an apartment to where you're like, hey, I'm in the right brain capacity. I'm in the right training mentality. I mean, you look like a linebacker, dude. You don't look like a dude, in my mind, that throws the javelin. I'm thinking of some Revenge of the Nerd shit. And the dude throws the javelin, right? I mean, this is not this guy, not Payton Shippee. So it's just fantastic, And then let's talk about the recruiting process for you. What schools looked at you and where you were like, I'm going to Kent State. Kent State makes sense for me.
Honestly, if in all honesty, not as many as you would think. I mean, I was good in high school for where I went to high school, but then you look at kids, for example, I threw 173 feet in high school. I took our school record, and then there's some kids that are throwing 200 plus feet in high school. So I wasn't the most wanted. And I got looked at for football at a couple of places. Bucknell sent me a letter. UNH looked at me, and just nothing kind of really worked out. Football was my first passion. So that was definitely what I wanted to pursue. And then when it didn't work out, it was kind of next best option. I'm pretty good at track, man. Let's take this to the next level. And UMass looked at me, and they have a great track and field program. They actually just joined the MAC this year. Just wanted to kind of get away from home. You know what I mean? And then Nathan Fanger, my coach, had reached out late June or mid-June, and kind of just went from there. And it was kind of no questions asked. You know what I mean? Like I'm in love with competing and showing people what I can do in my sport. And so it was just kind of, that was my 1D1 offer. And we didn't even come out and tour the campus before I committed. I'm going there no matter what location I'm in, and I'm able to do sports. It's what I love to do. And I came out to Kent, and it's been great. It's been awesome. Second home for me. My teammates are amazing. Coaching staff is amazing. I've made friends throughout the university, and it's pretty cool.
He said that he loves competing, and I saw him play high school football and just dominate. But again, the competition there, and even before that, when he was younger, I watched him play Little League and kill. And then one day he decides during COVID that he's going to get on a BMX bike, and competed doing that in a 6-month span of time. And Tell us that story, bud, because it's amazing.
Yeah. We, my best friend Jonah, his dad owns a bike shop, and he had always ridden bikes since I was a kid, or we were kids, and COVID hit, nothing else to do, and they built a track right in their backyard, and we started riding bikes every day for anywhere between 6 to 10 hours. That was our life, and I was 14 years old at the time, and it's pretty similar to track. You do like in-season races that just count as wins, nothing crazy. They do a couple nationals along the way, and then they do the final race in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is like the big thing. That's the final race, the best go. And I had done one prior race at the Foothills in Connecticut. And while on the race, I wasn't really racing anybody great, but it was just super fun to try it out. That was new to me. I didn't know what I was doing, and we had nothing else to do, so we drove out to Oklahoma. And I was competing in the novice class, which is definitely lower end, but I had one race before me. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 months, and went out there, and never lost a race. It was super cool. They build we're giant stadium. They build these big jumps and all out of dirt and stuff, and build them right in the stadium. And it was super cool. I mean, hundreds of bikers, and it was cool to be able to go out there with my best friend and win. That was super cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially you got COVID, and you're like, instead of one of the guys or one of the girls in the country or the world that time, like, I can sit here and sit all day long on the computer and do nothing, or I can get my shit together, look at something, and then out of pure fun, you end up conquering that.
Yep.
Long term, you don't even realize what you're doing to yourself, just mentally, going through those little minute struggles to now where you're at is going to be a junior at Kent State. And not only that, but Kent State was some of the notable, alumni at Kent State. Kent State's a no bullshit school, man. You got Julian Edelman, the Eds is there. I mean, you've got, we just talked about earlier, Pete. I think Nick Saban. Yeah, I mean, it's John Gruden. I mean, you got guys that Kent State produces obviously some tough nosed guys, because the three I just said are just about as no bullshit as it gets. And then we got, talking with you now, Peyton, and for funsies during COVID, you're like, I'm going to go be the best at BMX just because I feel like it.
Right.
And I just think that's fascinating. Or I'm going to start throwing the javelin because football didn't work out, and my aspirations are the Olympics. So to have that foresight of being at your age at 20 years old is just incredible, man. And, within that, you being in college, like the NIL, has that hit the track and field market? Like it has baseball, football, basketball. Has track and field start to receive some of those benefits that the NIL is offering to athletes like yourselves? Can you go and talk about that? Or
yeah, like we talked about before, javelin's not a super well-known thing. So to be able to get NIL or be pretty well-known, you definitely got to be on the higher end of rankings in NCAA. If you're top 10, top 15 in what you do, and you got a lot of followers on Instagram and people that are following and like, wow, man, this dude's throwing the javelin really fucking far. Whether you throw javelin or not, you see a stick go almost 300 feet. It's like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's insanity. It's fucking crazy, dude.
And so that definitely plays a part. But as for the sprints and stuff, I mean, it's definitely grown. Like you said, NIL in general in college sports it's taken over. It's I don't know if you guys know who Ryan Williams is, and played at Alabama. He was 17 as a freshman. His NIL right now is almost $3 million. And the kid's my age. He's actually a year younger than me. Track and field, it definitely looks a little bit different just because it's more individual. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Williams goes to Alabama, so they're already looking at Alabama athletes saying,
right, national brands,
expand with those athletes versus being at Kent State doing track and field. It's hard to get yourself out there. We have a couple people that have like smaller NIL deals, but nothing super crazy. But yeah, it's definitely hard to get into. You kind of got to reach out to people unless they reach out to you. And like I said, be kind of the best in track and field. The people that are following on to a specific athlete. There was the NCAA championships were last week, and a hurdler from I forget the school, maybe Texas A&M. He broke the world record, and he's in college. Ran the fastest hurdle time anybody has ever ran. He shattered it. The original was 12.95. He ran at 12.75, which in track and field terms, 0.1 second in sprints is pretty crazy. So I'd guess that kid's got some NIL going for him. I mean, you're best in the world. Nobody's better than you. So,
well, I just kind of curious on how that worked with, some of the alumni that have gone to Kent State. When you have that kind of horsepower, like the Nick Sabans, the John Grudens, you would think a place like Kent State would get some of that NIL money towards, I mean, maybe their football program does, I don't know. But for track and field at the minimum, just with a couple of the alumni, I know we saw this with Indiana last year with Mark Cuban, right? It was like irrelevant. All of a sudden, he's at every Indiana football game because, I went to Indiana. Well, Kent State's got kind of guys like that. It's one of those schools where you get shockingly surprised, like, damn, they went to Kent State. This guy went to Kent State. This girl went to Kent State.
Right.
It's just a nucleus of just all American kids. It seems like Kent State goes and gets. And, to take a chance on a guy like you that was fantastic in football, and then you go do BMX, and then you're going to throw the javelin. It's like, holy shit, man. That's just amazing PR for Kent State University. And it's incredible.
Did you say holy ship or holy shit?
Oh, holy shippy. Yeah, see, there's a slogan.
I'd love to know, not the academic part, but can you walk us through, sunrise to sundown, a day of training?
Yeah, so student athlete is a lot. I mean, obviously written on paper, everybody knows that. But when it actually comes down to it, there's a very select few that if you put them through that process of a year of being a student athlete, it's harsh. And especially our training days, like I'll take you through a Tuesday, which is normally our most hard days. We throw Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday's super easy, but Monday, Wednesday we're going at it. We're throwing and we're throwing hard. And then Tuesday is our drill days. We lift every day other than Wednesday, but Tuesday we'll show up to practice, get a good warm up in, make sure we're steering clear of those injuries, and hop on the bike for 20 minutes. We'll do ball throws into the net, 30, 40 of them, med balls overhead. We'll have some sprints, which we're really javelin group for throwers. Normally when somebody thinks of a thrower, they think of a, big 6'8" guy, 330 pounds. That's not javelin throwers. You know what I mean? We're fast, we're athletic, we're practicing our plyos, we're doing jumps into the sand pit. And so that's where our training really takes a turn versus other throwers, because we're not just doing power stuff and bulking up and being super strong. We're being a versatile athlete that makes us flexible to throw this. I don't know if you guys ever seen a picture, a slowed down video of a javelin thrower, or even like a baseball pitcher, their elbows behind their head, completely bent. It's not the way an arm's supposed to bend. So for us, we got to make sure we're ready to bend our arm like that. And so our training really is versatile between lifting, sprints, plyos, and then throwing on top of that to try to put that all in when it comes end season, April, May, that we're ready to go. So that starts, and as soon as you step on campus in August, it's every day, getting ready for that postseason.
And that's also, I've got classes to go to too, right?
Yeah. Funny story. My freshman year, spring semester, when we really started dialing in, we're focused at practice, we're going at it. And I had a class that started at 2:15, and our practice got out at 2. So the field house is probably a mile and a half away. I'd hop on my electric scooter right after the lift, ride across campus from the stadium, and I'd go to class, and I look like I'm withdrawing from drugs, man. I am sweaty head to toe, shirt soaked, and I walked into that class. I'd be 5 minutes late every day because I'd ride my scooter, and I walk in there, and I'm dripping with sweat, and everybody would turn and look at me. And eventually they found out that, I do sports, and that's why. But I'll never forget the look on people's faces the first day I walked in there, and I'm sweating, and they thought something was going on.
Yeah, sure. Mikey Methhead just walked in the door. Watch out.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, though, Peyton, I mean, I'm just thinking about, where I kind of grew up and how I grew up. If a guy was walking down the street with a javelin, I'm just telling you right now, you don't have time to call the cops, dude. You better go get a shovel and get to work and find a dirt field, because this dude is on crack, and get out of the way.
Right.
And then I look at you, you're like the All-American, got muscles on top of muscles. It's like, whatever, man. I just didn't know the javelin could be this cool. And apparently, dude, guys like you make shit cool.
1,000%. Right?
Apparently, Pete, I'm finding out I'm just not cool at shit.
Like, are they all the same weight? Or like, how long is this thing? What is the javelin?
Yeah, the men's javelin is 8 feet 6 inches, I believe, 800 grams. The girls' javelin is 600 grams and 6'8", I believe. 6 feet 8 inches. And that's the only implement besides for girls discus, that doesn't change coming out of high school. So I also throw discus too. And in high school, it's 1.6 kilograms. Then when you go to college, it's 2 kilograms. Same with the shot put is 12 pounds in high school, and then it jumps to 16 pounds, which in my opinion is the biggest change. So to be a kid, you're slinging the 12-pound shot put 60 feet plus, and then you got 4 more pounds in a giant cannonball. It's like that's when size really, really comes in and plays a role in that for sure.
Yeah, I noticed. So my son runs track, and I just get thrown into going to track meets, and I love it. There's, I like the big ones when there's like 25 schools and there's just activity everywhere. There's tons of kids. They're training over here, getting ready for their thing. And I noticed that these cats that even in high school that throw shot put, these are big dudes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then when you look at college or the Olympics, these guys are tanks, man. And the way they have to do that, and you still can't foul, and it's just like, fuck me, man. And like Chris, like you were saying, you didn't know javelin could be so cool. I didn't think a track meet would be cool,
right?
And I love every minute of it, man. When those kids come run, when they do a 100, they're burning. These are high school kids, and they're running their asses off, man. Right. And it's exciting. I love it, really do. And when you said, when you were telling us you're just grinding and training and everything you do, when you got there, were you like, because I know you, like you hit the weights at the house when you're, running track in high school. But my guess is that it was a completely different baby training when you walked into Kent State.
Yeah. I'll never forget our first lowers day, legs day. I couldn't move the next day. I was completely shot. We get in as throwers. Olympic lifts are huge. Clean snatches, overhead lifts and stuff like that. And I had never done them before. I had hang cleaned a little bit for high school football, but it wasn't anything crazy. And we got into doing that stuff, man. And the first month, you are just completely changed. I gained, some of it was the dining hall, but I remember I stepped on the Kent campus. I was 198 pounds. I went home for Christmas break and I was 227 pounds.
Let's go.
Training.
Hey, with no NIL money. That's scary. That's with no money.
Yeah.
And speaking of nutrition, is it something, I know some guys that are top notch in what they do and they don't, they'll eat whatever the fuck they want. I know a guy who's a fucking top-notch athlete. He smokes cigarettes. It blows my mind. But does your, my body's a temple kind of thing? Are you stuck on certain things you eat and things you don't eat, or is it only in season? Talk about that.
It's not as much of what I'm eating as when I'm eating. If you're the type of person that, say, you don't have class and we got practice at 11, if you're not eating breakfast, you're not getting up, having some water in the morning, some electrolytes before you're going to practice, this isn't for you. You know what I mean? If you're not taking the discipline to do that kind of stuff, I don't care if you eat a cheeseburger for breakfast. I know it's not the most optional, but you're getting something in your body to fuel. So I guess for me, there's nights I'll eat a whole pizza from Domino's and I'm like, that's not very D1 athlete of me, but I'm hungry. And that is what it is. You know what I mean? But when you get those athletes who aren't, I guess, taking care of your body, and we talk about training and stuff, just because I'm out of practice doesn't mean I'm not done training. I'm stretching every night, even breathing exercises in the morning. Make sure you're doing that kind of stuff, going to the trainer, the ice baths, the hot tub. I've got into a lot of acupuncture this year, which was huge. I was having a lot of lower back pain and stuff, and I went and got cupping and needling, and that plays a huge part, as well as diet. Like I said, you don't have to, my body's a temple all the time, but you definitely see a difference in the elite athletes versus the athletes who aren't really looking at when they're eating, what they're eating, and what they're putting in their body, which I would say definitely plays a big part.
That shows too. That shows within, people can say, my body, my temple. Well, you can tell the athletes to take care of their bodies. It's written all over them. When you look at, like a Michael Phelps, for instance, he's a world-class, to me, athlete. I know he's a swimmer, but it's like you look at Michael Phelps and you go, holy shit, this guy is a true temple of his craft, and his body is a reflection of that. Just no different than you look, Peyton. It's like you look at a guy that goes, this guy's got his shit together. He's big. He's putting in the work. I'm going to tell you why and how you just changed me on what I think of the javelin. You just said the javelin's 8 feet in college.
Yeah, 8 feet 6 inches.
You're throwing Shaquille O'Neal down the fucking I-95, dude. Okay, so whatever you're eating, pal, Your body obviously needs it because that's how far I think most people like myself, when we think of the javelin, you're like, javelin, whatever. That's Shaquille O'Neal you're throwing down obviously not the weight, but you understand the point. It's like, wow, you have to be world class to do this, to throw something that big with that velocity. And for somebody to recognize that and go, this needs to be a sport because it takes a superhuman person to do this the correct way. And so for that, you have found your calling.
Have they ever, I don't know, like you said, Chris, you said throwing it at pretty high velocity. I know it's not part of the score, but how fast are they throwing this thing? Has that ever been recorded, documented?
I'm not super educated on that one part, but to put it in perspective, if you took, even in college, if you took the top 5 guys who just placed last year for top 5 in the country, if you told them to pick up a baseball and throw a pitch, even if it was wild, I bet they'd be cooking 85 to 90 miles an hour. Like, and that's major leagues. That's the arm speed is huge. If you look up Jan Zelezny, he has the world record. He was the best of the best at javelin. If you want to see a good javelin thrower, you look up Jan Zelezny from Czech Republic, and he'd have we use chalk on our hands sometimes, and he'd set up his throw, and when his arm came through, even if it's in slow-mo, his arm's behind his head and then it's in front of him instantly, which is huge. I mean, I don't know the actual speed, but that javelin had to be traveling some serious velocity coming out of his hands. The chalk was just stuck in air. Like, his hand goes through and there's a cloud of chalk where his hand was. It's pretty crazy. That's
awesome.
Yeah, nuts.
Peyton, how long does that record stood for? Just to kind of put it in time frames for, I think a lot of people at home get confused with who's the best athlete. Well, what era did they play in? Like this gentleman you're talking about, what era is he from?
Jan Zelezny was 90. That record's from somewhere between 97 and 2000, I believe. Somewhere in those 3 years that record was thrown, and he was the best. And speaking of, like, how I was saying, javelin throwers are the probably most athletic people when it comes to the thrower world between shot put and hammer. He could run a 200 meter in like 22.4 seconds, which is not crazy fast, but that's in some states for high school. That's pretty crazy. That's nuts. If for like even a decathlete, somebody who does the 10 events and they're actually running and jumping, like, that's a good time. So to have a thrower running almost 21 seconds in the 200 is pretty crazy. He was overall best athletes. Anytime that film's a huge thing as a thrower that you just watch, you watch the best of the best, and he's my go-to every time. And he was actually, that was during my dad's era when he threw javelin at Kent State. He was here from 96 to 99, I believe. And that was right in that era. So same thing for him. That was the number one. If you're a javelin thrower, you know who Jan Zelezny is. The best of the best.
We were talking about how you had some back troubles and you started doing needling and cupping. And I was thinking, when you guys are at those universities, you have all that stuff at your disposal. Trainers and athletic rooms and all this high-end gear. And like you said, if you're in it to win it, you're a fool to not take advantage of all this stuff and get your body repaired and ready to go for the next meet. I just think that's great that you're, I also, depending on the college, I'm sure the facility is top notch.
Yeah. Kent is pretty good. I couldn't even imagine if you went to a school like LSU, University of Florida, where they have millions of dollars to play around with and be like, hey, this is what our kids need. We're going to put an X-ray room right in our training facility and have hire doctors to be able to come in. I mean, Kent State itself we do amazing when it comes to training rooms and facilities and stuff like that, which I actually took advantage more this year. Going back to when we were talking about what a thrower hitting their peak at 7 years and stuff like that. That's huge, and taking care of your body and making sure. Being a thrower, you got to be wise. You got to know when it's time to throw, and when you wake up, your back's hurting, you didn't get much sleep. That's not a time to go into practice and give it your all. You don't want to lack. Every day you want to give 100%, but sometimes that 100% is being older and wiser and knowing that I'm going to do more harm to my body today than I'm going to benefit. And that's the days that you're going to the trainers and you're getting work done and all that kind of stuff. Because if your body's not where it needs to be by postseason, you're going to peak and you're not going to hit the goals that you want to at the point that you need to. You need to be ready to go. If your conference meet is May 15th and I'm throwing at 9:30 in the morning, I need to be ready to go full, pedal to the floor, like ready to throw and do my very best at that moment. So the people who aren't maybe taking advantage of the training and stuff like that, that's the time that people will fall apart.
It's almost like there's some type of mental and physical scheduling, right? I mean, like you don't want to peak too soon. You don't want, it's like, I guess in any sport, even with a team, like we're making a run for the playoffs, but everybody's in a slump right now. Fuck, you know what I mean? And as an individual athlete, yeah, you gotta keep all that stuff in line, man. And that's another thing to manage.
Yeah. And if you were to have a baseball pitcher throw from, if their season starts, beginning of spring, March time, if you have them throwing 120 pitches a day at max capacity, you're not going to see the results you want to see when it comes playoff time. And I think we joke about it all the time. It gets cold here in Ohio. I mean, I'm from Massachusetts. You understand? It gets cold, man. And so we can only throw up until, if we're lucky, maybe beginning in November, and then again, if we're lucky, outside by end of February, beginning of March. And we hate it because we feel like we're not ready for the season. We haven't been throwing enough. I mean, we throw inside, but it's just not the same. The air, what we're throwing off of, everything like that. But in the long run, being older and a little wiser, it helps us because you have people at these warmer universities in the South, and they're throwing 24/7 outside, which is great. But you see them fall apart at the end of the season, man. You see them getting back surgery, knee surgery, Tommy John surgery in their elbow because they were throwing 3 days a week since August, and you just can't do that in an event like Javelin. You just can't. Your body doesn't work like that. You need that rest time. So for us, the winter time is big on training with our sprints, our stretching, our lifting, and then we kind of set the throwing aside a little bit. We're still doing our drills and keeping that in our mind mentally, but we're not, cranking every day as hard as we can because that's when athletes just fall apart.
Seems like it could be a little at that winter months. It seems like it's a little bit of a sneaky little leg up, because you have to shut it down. We can't throw where these guys are like, hey, it's nice out today. Let's go whip that thing around. And next thing you know, oh boy.
Yeah. And you got to understand that just because you throw 80 meters at practice or however far, you got to do it when the time's right. So if you're doing that all fall, but then you tweak something at the wrong time, you're not going to be where you need to be at, which is huge in track and field. Timing is everything. Down to the minute that you start to run, you need to be ready to go, feeling good, no mental battles, no physical battles. And I think that those winter months almost kind of give us that little bit of advantage that we need.
Well, hey, Peyton, I got two questions this. So one, how many times do you throw during a track event? Right, let's say you go to the MAC finals. How many times that day are you going to throw? I mean, because every other sport, like you said earlier, the team sport, right? We got 4 quarters. When you're an individual sport, it's right now. You got to go perform right now at that pinnacle, position. And I'm just curious, for a championship meet for the collegiate level, do you throw 4 or 5 times the javelin that day, or is it just a one throw? Holy shit, I got one time to make this perfect.
No, so for throws, you get, when you walk in, if you're going to the meet, you get 3 throws guaranteed.
Okay.
Normally they'll take top 9 to finals. If you're allowed to compete unattached. So if either of you wanted to compete at a track meet that I was at, you guys totally could. It's open to the public until you get to a championship meet like the MAC conference. If they do that, sometimes they'll give a couple extra spots towards finals. If you make finals, you get another 3. So total per meet, if you're lucky, you get 6 throws. 3 throws guaranteed. Gotcha. If you don't have any competition and you throw that first throw and it's a bomb, you can walk away. You don't have to take the other ones. You can scratch them and you can win the competition. You get 3 throws of your choice, whatever you want to do.
My first question was that. My second question, you brought up Tommy John, which is a well-known baseball surgery. Well-known. I've known multiple athletes that have had it done. A good friend of mine's had it done. So that just shows you the arm, strength that your body requires, because the Tommy John, once you tear that used to be a career-ending injury for baseball players alone. Now when you hear stories like javelin players, they're worried about Tommy John. That's a lot of force being stretched on a lot of ligaments that I didn't know they were being used in the javelin. It was like, you see a guy grab it, they throw it. It's like, oh, that was impressive. When you break down the dynamics and the true form of how it's thrown, I could see, or at least by one of my questions was, when did that record happen? Because has technology from, you know, the 80s, 90s, 2000s till now is at that massive a jump. And when you tell me a record still stands from the 90s, that sounds like that was more form driven, more obviously that 6-year pinnacle mark. You said you got to be in the game at least 6 years. He's been around it. He obviously perfected that timing you speak of, that direct, you know, to release that javelin. And it's just another, for those at home, if you're wondering who the greatest generation was, it's still the 90s, Pete. Fucking still. Jordan, now this guy. It's like Tiger. Do you understand what I'm saying, Peyton?
Yeah.
It's another one for the books for guys like Pete and I that you just validated. The 90s are still the best. Even at Javelin, we still own the 90s. But
I mean, I think, Chris, on what you're saying I think training is different these days in any sport. Like the competition is stiff, right? Like there's so many different avenues of training and different ways of training, and they're training harder. And there's, you bring your kid to this clinic or this facility, and we'll make them a D1 athlete and all this kind of thing. But like you were saying with like form, I feel like the javelin, you got to be in tip top shape and be a pretty strong dude. But I think does it all come down to form? The way you throw it?
Overall, yes. You see guys who are like way smaller than me and they're throwing twice as far as me. And it just all comes down to how you can. The biggest thing is we have our left leg, which blocks, and you get all the separation from your left leg all the way to your right arm stretch across that chest. And you build a lot of energy, and then we call it the car crash. And that's when it's just wham, that javelin sails out there, and you hope that there's so much that goes into it. You hope you hit the point right, hope your block leg was straight, all that kind of stuff. So it's all form. I mean, and obviously the training that I was talking about goes into it, of running, making sure you're coming down the runway with the right amount of speed, and you're agile, you're floating, you're hitting your crossovers. That all does play a huge part. But if you were to put up somebody like Jan Zalesny and have him simply just stand and not even run into it, he's going to throw 50 feet further than me, at least, 60 feet further than me, just because he's able to do those little things that I'm not able to do yet. And I think what's also huge, talking about the 90s and generations, and Pete, you'll see this with, your son starting to come into track. In the track world as an athlete, we are in a major inflation in athletes right now. We are seeing it hasn't been seen before. We have kids in high school running times that could compete at the Olympic trials. In high school, 14 years old in Texas, we have kids running 9.8 in the 100. That doesn't happen ever. That has never happened before. We're seeing kids in high school throw. I had a teammate that actually got recruited last year. He threw 198 feet in the disc, which would have won the MAC this year in high school. Which obviously it's different weights and stuff, but for comparison, I mean, we're seeing kids compete that are, it's going to be crazy. Quincy Wilson, I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, still in high school, just committed to LSU. He's a senior this year. He was the one that went to the Olympics. He was 16 years old and he got a gold medal in the 4x4. He's hawking down Olympians. It hasn't been seen before. It's crazy.
Imagine being in high school and being an Olympic sprinter.
Yeah. Gold medalist. It's crazy.
I mean, that's, hey, mom, dad, I got to go beat the kids down the street at the other high school. Nah, let's let them get one today. So that's my point was, Peyton, so you do believe in the bigger, faster, stronger, which obviously it's there. I think the supplements are there, right, for people's body to change. But I'm just telling you, you have got to put in the work. It doesn't matter what you put in your system, your body. If you're not putting in the work every day, these records are going to continue to stand, for as long as time. I mean, the reason LeBron James got the record for basketball, because he's played for 20 something years. He's not the best ever. People that with their own eyes know it's Mike and everybody else. It's pretty simple. Football's the same way. It's Brady and everybody else. It's not that there were guys not more talented, but if we're talking about wins and losses, let's talk about him. And so when you speak of that guy, he wasn't that big. He was this. I'm thinking he put in the work, so he mastered whatever that was. And it sounds like form is what he had mastered. He knows he wasn't going to be maybe the biggest, the strongest, the guy that was a freak athlete like you, that was just an all-around American guy. He went, I'm going to perfect this one specific thing. And he's done that, and it's now stood for 31 years, if I'm doing my math correctly, which is a long time. And let's just be honest, people have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger. But his form and his dedication to his craft after 31 years still stands firm. And that's from working.
Has anyone ever come close?
Yeah, Thomas Rowler, hopefully I'm saying his name right. He is from Germany. He's been pretty close. He threw 94, which is a hell of a toss. That's the crazy part about Zelezny is there's people who are still throwing crazy numbers and they're not even close to touching his record, which shows how far he freaking threw to be able to still hold that record. There's been a couple others. Chopper from India, he won the Olympics. I think he threw 91. I forget the guy's name. There's a dude from somewhere near Africa. He's been throwing pretty good. 2 weeks ago, he threw 92 meters, which to put in feet is like 300 plus. That's a very, very good throw. But yeah, and like you said, speaking of like the best of the best and how you get to that level, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If it's lacrosse, baseball, the kid that you see playing wall ball by himself every day after school, throwing a lacrosse ball against the wall, that's the kid that's going to be elite because he's dedicated to what he's doing. He's obsessed with it. He loves it. I had a kid, one of my good friends, he was in between going to a D3 military school and going D1. He does high jump. He actually competes for Wakona. He's amazing. And so he was a little confused of what he wanted to do. And I had sent him a long text and just said, if you're not in love with this sport, if going to practice is effort for you and you have to kind of get yourself out of the bed to compete every day, don't do it, man, because it's not for you. You have to love what you do to be able to go to that area to be able to hold a record for 31 years. Jan Zelezny, that's what he was obsessed with. That's what he loved. And he dedicated his time to perfecting his craft to be able to hold a record for 31 years. I think that's huge of no matter what sport it is, in track and field, especially because you can't be one of those 11 guys that goes out there and you got 10 other guys that are going to carry you. Well, you're champion, but you didn't really do shit. You know what I mean? Track and field, right. It's you, man. There's nobody else on that runway or track to make you throw or run however fast. That's all you.
Right.
It can be embarrassing, you know what I mean? If you don't train all year and then that moment comes down to being on the runway and, you shit the tub, man, that's on you. Everybody knows that you didn't train all year. Whereas you get that guy who exceeds and he hits at the right time. That's the guy you want to be, the guy who's training day and night and doing the little things to make him become that athlete.
I think that's awesome that you would, for your buddy who was conflicted on what he wanted to do and for someone his age or his peer, not a grown-up or a coach, for you to be like, look, man, I'm living it. If you don't love this to death, don't do it. It's like, if you're going to half-ass it, why?
I think, Pete, when you're talking about, do you love something? People always say they love it. Well, no, everybody loves it, the finish line love, right? But that's starting off and getting up and getting your ass moving and doing the right shit when nobody's looking is the separator. That's the separator. And, I've heard some great quotes, but one that really stuck with me is to be great in life. There's a couple things you need to know. And rule number one is prepare yourself to be lonely. When you can take yourself to a place of true loneliness, you will find yourself in whatever goal is in your way or you're trying to achieve. You're going to get there because nobody was with you going through that lonely spot in your life to where you said, I'm all in, but you pushed in the chips when nobody saw it. And that's the beautiful thing about what you're doing, about what you've done throughout your young life and what you're going to continue to do is you've already pushed your fucking chips in, Peyton. Now, how do you play them? Or what are you willing to risk at this point in the game? You're right. And it's going to be prepare yourself to be lonely. Once you do that, you've already done that. You're going to show great leaps and bounds as an athlete and as a man. And for you to give your friend that kind of advice, that's good advice because you're already telling me by you saying that you're lonely. So, dude, if you don't love this shit so much, you're going to miss the parties. You're going to miss the going out. Maybe the girls, maybe the weekend thing, maybe the football tailgate thing, because I have got to be a constant professional. I am here to be a student athlete, and I'm only using your words, but you reiterated student. And that shows by the schools you talk of that you go to, Kent State University, you said UMass. These are not your universities you go to and say, hey, I'm going to go there and I'm going to be mediocre. These are institutions, right? Yeah. And so with that being said, I love the fact that you drove that home, because most kids at a lot of these big schools, the reason they're broke is because they were never a student. And the athletic department don't give a shit about them.
We had Rob Dinkovich on, Chris, remember? And he said,
awesome.
You know, he spent a lot of time by himself on Friday night because he had a goal. He was going to play football, and he wasn't hanging out with his buddies. He was in a barn lifting weight, listening to Stain or whatever he said.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Peyton, if you're not around those people, remove them from your circle. Get them out of your fucking life. You're doing yourself a favor now. Because those are the same people, when you do make it, are going to go, dude, we did it. Where were we at when I pushed in the chips? Right? So with that being said,
I think it's amazing you say that, Chris. Like when I won freshman year MAC, my friends always knew I was a good athlete. You know, I can't take that away from when I was born. I had some natural born instincts for sure.
Jesus, bro.
But then when I won MAC and I came home and they're like, oh, you did it again. And I'm like, okay, but you guys didn't see what went into that, me calling my parents almost in tears saying, my coach is on my ass. I'm not understanding what he's telling me, and I'm struggling. I'm 10 hours away from home, and yeah, damn right, I'm lonely, and I'm nervous that I have all these eyes on me, and people are expecting me to do great, and I might not do great, but that's part of what we do. And so we come home, and it's like, oh, you did amazing, and it was like, I know, because I worked for that. I put myself in a room to succeed, and surrounded myself with people who had the same goals. My roommate, Desmond Boyd, amazing guy. He has had the biggest impact in my college career, grew up 2 different lifestyles. And we're very adamant about that, and making sure that we're surrounded with the people that we need to be surrounded by, in the practice that goes into it of, everybody can go to the gym and lift with their buddies when you got your nice outfits on, a cutoff, and, we're going to hit arms, and it's a blast. It's awesome. But then when it's Friday night at 11 p.m. and you got a leg day and you're by yourself and all your buddies are out, are you going to go out, or are you going to hit that leg day that might make you a little bit ahead of everybody else come Monday morning? You know what I mean? Right. And that's the days that puts an athlete above the other ones. I heard this quote of, some athletes train to win and for the team, and so they could be the best. And then there's those very few athletes that just train to dominate. Those that, like people like Tom Brady, constantly watching film. So when he goes out there and there's a playoff game with a minute and a half left and they're down, damn right he's going to score, because that's what he studies, that's what he does, and that's his craft. Right. And there's just no doubt in your mind that he's the best of the best and he can do that. And I think that's super important, no matter what sport you play.
Yeah, I just think for anybody as a young man, especially this wonderful spot you're at in your life where you're playing, not only are you going to a fantastic university being Kent State, but then you're getting to do something you love, Javelin. Then with that, these life lessons, this perseverance, me being lonely, getting my ass up. We've all been there, real men, real athletes, real guys that have had to sacrifice anything, military, whatever the case is. When you've had to lay down at nighttime and that pillow becomes your best friend. Let me just tell you something. If pillows could talk truly, holy shit, would this world be in bigger trouble than we are now. But with that becomes this amazing growth. You find out who you are and what you're made of. And a lot of times we get so fixated on what others think of us because they don't know how to be great. Well, it's not our fucking job to teach them how to be great in life. It is your job to try to teach yourself discipline, do the best you possibly can, and those that around you typically will be successful or with those same goals-oriented mindsets because they don't want to be around mediocrity. Mediocre people are easy to point out. They are everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, look around, pal. You go to school. I'm around people. Pete's around people. They're okay with mediocrity. They're fine with it because to them, greatness scares the shit out of them. And it does for a lot of people. So for me, Peyton, do not be afraid to be great. You're obviously doing it. You're at a fantastic university that's obviously opened you up with, wide open arms and love. And, as a Kent State one day alumni, it would be a fantastic feather in your cap to say, I am a part of those Nick Sabans. I am a part of the John Grudens, the Julian Edelmans they look at. I'm the guy that came here in track and field and changed the dynamic of what people think of Kent State and the Javelin or track and field as a whole. And that's the cool thing you get to do and be a part of, not being one of those guys you get compared to, but to be in the discussion of, look what he did for this university. There's two different mindsets. You can either be part of the university or you can be part of the people that move that university. And so for me, there's a greater calling for you, my friend, because I've never heard of the Javelin. Now I can't wait to speak about it, to speak about your successes, even if you have some failures, which we're going to face in life. I think you're that guy that's going to grab life by the horns and go, I'm here to finish what I started. And I love that because,
he's that guy.
You know,
that's a super hard part about being a student and athlete is, you know, you already got a lot on your plate when it comes to schooling, and then you got to go to practice, and that's even more on your plate. And then everyday life hits you that doesn't have anything to do with either of those things. It's just a shitty day, man. And you're like, okay, well, now on top of that, I have to go be an amazing athlete. I have to go be a great student. And that's the part where it gets hard, man. It gets really hard. And you need those characteristics of not being mediocre and being able to get over those barriers to be able to go about a good day and have a good day and contribute to your training and your schooling and your degree. And I think that's huge. You know, you said the pillow is your best friend. Sometimes it has to be,
Right.
just so you can get up that next day and keep going on that same path that you're going, you know, and not giving up over some, you know, little bump in the road that you hit previously.
I think people that watch sports too, like we get to sit on the couch, and not sports, but college athletes, and we're like, whoa, that guy, that you don't know what that guy had to bury all week, just so that he could push 5 guys over the goal line with a second left. That guy could have had the shittiest week ever personally. And like you said, well, it's time to shine right now, even though I just got off the shittiest phone call I had, and now I've got to go play in front of 70,000 people. So there's a lot of things that people don't realize, they don't think about. You know, they always say, like, you don't know what's going on in someone's life, so you can't just, that guy's an asshole. Well, maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he just got off the phone. His grandmother passed away. So there's a lot going on, and you guys, the great ones and the ones that want it, they deal with it. And sometimes it sucks, but that reward afterwards is probably what everybody's looking for, right? Like, so.
You see the greatest athletes come from that. You know what I mean? A lot of people hit that barrier. They start to slow down. They start to let up. Well, it's getting a little bit hard. I might just give up. And that you can't. You know what I mean? 2 weeks before our opener, we were supposed to be down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And Wednesdays are kind of our off days. We're doing some stretching and drills. And we did a 1K comp, which is the girls' discus. So, you know, when the guys throw them, they go pretty freaking far, man. And so it's one of our favorite things to do. And we see who can throw the furthest. And, I'm doing that. And I sprained my ankle 2 weeks before. I've been working since August. And 2 weeks before my opening meet, I sprained my ankle. It looks like I had a baseball in my foot. It was gigantic. I couldn't walk. And just heartbreaking. I was in tears. I called my dad. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what to do. I have been grinding on and off the field, waiting for these moments. We're going on to North Carolina. It's going to be amazing. And life hit me with something else. You know, there was a different plan for me. And we had talks about redshirting. And, you know, at that moment, I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to be like, hey, I just put in hours and hours into my sport, all to sprain my ankle doing a fun little game.
Right.
It was just kind of a little funny, ironic joke. And, but that hit me hard. That was, you hit some adversity like that, and there's just not much you can do about it. And thank God I was able to recover, and I competed in my season, but it definitely threw me through the loop. Wasn't really myself after for a while, but those are the things that for athletes, not many people talk about. And it's easy for us to, you know, having snacks watching the Super Bowl game, and he's like, how could he miss that block? You know, and like you said, we could have called him the day before and been like, hey man, childhood pet's dead, or your grandma's dead, or something like that, or hey, something else is going on in your life. And it can be mentally draining as an athlete, very draining.
I can imagine, man. I've never athlete of the year, or never went to those heights, but I you know, big sports fan, and I'm hip and smart enough to know that what we're watching, there's a whole story behind it that these cats had to deal with, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And I think a lot of people take it for granted. I don't think I think your fair weather fan takes it for granted, because they just, you know, they flip on something, they watch it, and go, wow, that was awesome. that guy just hit 2 home runs. Yeah, I can't believe he did that either, because earlier in the week, a guy just dealt with something really shitty.
Right.
You know? And I also noticed, like, a lot of guys, a lot of big names. I mean, Michael Jordan had one of his best games. His dad passed away. You know, like, these guys deal with stuff and then go and play and have one of the greatest days of their life. I don't know if the big guy was watching upstairs or not, but
absolutely,
you know, you can either stop and let that eat you up, or just push through and use it, right? And just keep striving. So I thank you for, you know, being an athlete and being a student and being a student of this whole area, this whole globe, and helping that kid. You know, I'm surprised no one helped him. No one said that to him, but I think that was probably the most sound advice he ever got.
Yeah.
But if you're not knee deep in this, run. Don't do it.
And you want to go compete at a smaller university or something like that, and practices are maybe 2-3 days a week. You know, doesn't really matter. I mean, if you go to college for sports in general, no matter what division, you're pretty elite. But if you're going to go to that D1 level, there's no question you got to be in love with what you do. You got to wake up in the days that you don't want to wake up, and it's cold out, man. It's -5, and you know you need to get gas, and money's tight, and all that kind of stuff. But all that matters is that you're going to practice that day, and you're getting done what you need to get done, and the rest will fall into place. And if you're not willing to do that, it's not for you, man.
No, I agree, and especially with, you know, your age group right now, the 20-year-old, you know, the fork in the road that you guys are in life. You're going to see a lot of, more than not, Peyton, you're going to start to see the people that settle for the mediocre. You know, they're going to give every excuse to you. Oh, Peyton, it's just one night. Hey, it's just, we're going to go out and do this. And that's where you're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some fans. Your family's always going to be there, because at the end of the day, when your success and all the fruits of your labors come to truth, and, you know, you've got a sound foundation in front of you, I think you're going to look back. I think Pete and I both had these reflections in our life where you've kind of felt used. Like everybody was there until you made it. And then when you made it, they're like, oh, it's great. We all made it. But at your lowest, you're there by yourself, right? So you having that knowledge already at 20 years old going, hey, I know where I'm at. I know I'm going to feel some pain, and I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to learn like crazy, and I'm going to come out the better side. Not only, you know, knowing that how important just a pillow is now at 20 years old. I watch all my kids now. I think Pete would say this true. I watch the way my children look at a pillow now a little differently. They're like, a lot of times you talk to that pillow and you don't realize what's being said to it. And like any great athlete, like I said, the one thing I heard that's just profound, and I heard this when I was in the military, is prepare yourself to be lonely. And once you can do that, you're going to succeed. It's not if, you know, it's not when, it's like it becomes immediately, because you made the choice to say, I'm ready to be lonely right now.
Sprained your ankle like at the worst time and you were just crushed, right? I wonder if, you know, I would never wish that on an athlete, but I feel like you need to go through that at some point, obviously sooner than later, and not at the championship match or whatever. But I feel like you might have something other folks don't, because they've just been cruising, you know?
Right.
They never had a setback, and now all of a sudden something happened. You're like, what the hell, man? Like, what just happened? Like, this sucks. And if it was to happen to you again, you is it as shitty as it is? You can cope. You know what it was like before, and at least I've been through this. You know what I mean? Like, am I wrong? I think that would be a leg up.
Well, in a good athlete versus a bad athlete, I could go through that 8 different times, and every single time I'm still going to try to get back until my eligibility is over. You know what I mean? Until I actually cannot compete in college sports anymore. Every time I'm going to come back from that injury, no matter if it's surgery, a broken bone, a sprained ankle, whatever, back to loving what you do. If you're not willing to go through those hard times, that the hard times you're talking about, that makes or breaks athletes. This year at my conference meet, it was embarrassing. I was throwing great, came down to my last throw. There was only one kid after me. There was a kid that was winning by 1.5 meters ahead of me. I'm on my last throw. And for jumpers and throwers, we can start like a clap, and everybody gets a clap going. And then right before you throw, it's super loud and everybody's yelling. Gets you pumped up. And I did that for everybody, and I'm coming through. I feel super good. My last crossover, I catch my spike. I almost fell on my face in front of everybody. In front of everybody. I had one last throw to try to win the meet in crushing, but there was nothing else I could do. But it happens, breathe, and we got 2 more years to do this. And you're going to go through those moments of, for a hurdler, you're going to fall on your face sometimes right in front of everybody. And it's who gets back up to continue doing that. And I don't know, it makes you a better athlete, in my opinion. It is what it is.
I mean, it's probably a great for life. You got to get back up.
Yeah, I'm with you on the life stuff, Pete. I mean, here's the deal, Peyton. The one thing you can learn from that, for one, it's not about when you fall or who you fall in front of. It's you started a race to fall. You had the guts enough to say, I'm starting the race. I don't care what it looks like to you people, because you don't have the guts to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm putting myself out there through hard work and through, at least for me, it's my faith. And I don't care what your predetermined, whether it's an accusation or it's a belief about me, have fun at it. Because I'm going to keep grinding just like you're going to keep grinding. That adversity is going to carry you through life, because you're going to look at it and go, this one time. Matter of fact, I'll bet as your career continues here, and let's pray for the best for you and you make the Olympics, you won't even talk about this ever again, because it's going to be a speed bump in life. It'll be a speed bump that you go, oh, but in your world, you thought, how can I ever go backwards? Well, you did it. Now look where you're at. Now you're talking Olympics. That's the mind thought and process, or excuse me, just the train of thought that you need to get you through those days that suck, where maybe your mom and dad don't answer the phone. Your best buddy doesn't answer his phone. You're like, God, I just want to stop this shit. You're by yourself. Well, either you can trench in, dude, or trench out. And you've trenched in. And so for that's winning half the battle, because now the rest of them will start quitting. And you'll just slowly but surely see the people that are made in life for what God throws at them, for what people are not, or the people that are not made for what they, for what they have in store for them. So with that, I see nothing but greatness. You're a very confident young man. You should be. Sounds like Kent State University was the right call for you. And I think that, you could leave a true mark there. And, coming from any small town, I love following the athletes that where I'm from and knowing their family and seeing them going through their processes, and a couple that are going to be getting drafted this year in Major League Baseball, just fantastic. And now with Pete, the excitement around you, we're like, God, we have amazing guests on. But I think right now it's such a powerful thing for the young people to see and to hear from individuals like yourself, Peyton, that are doing it. You're doing it, dude. You're doing it. There's 8 billion people on the planet. 7.9 billion of them are talking about it. You're doing it. And for that, I commend you, man. That's a hat off to your mom and your dad, your family, of what you represent as a person. And I think Kent State University stole a good one when they got you, pal. That's my personal opinion, but I do. And Pete,
1,000%. And listen, I always say on the show, we're going to learn about some stuff. We're going to have some laughs. We had some laughs today for sure. We definitely learned about some stuff as far as a student athlete, about the javelin, which I'm sure a lot of people are like, what the fuck, javelin? That's what we do here. Like, we want to hear people's stories. We want other people to learn about something that they maybe not have knew about. And that happened here today. For sure with you, Mr. Shippey. Is there anything to close that you'd like to say to the folks out there?
Yeah, for people listening, if my story sounds familiar, you're that kid from a small town, don't know if you might be able to go to that next level, man, just keep trying. Keep loving what you do, keep getting up every day, and have that dream. If you can dream it, it's possible. And just keep going through with your passions and what you aspire to be. I think that's super important, not even just sports, instruments, anything like that. I think it's important that, you don't ever fall short of what you want to do in the overall run. It only matters what you want to do. So to those people out there listening that might be in that same situation, keep going through with it. And I really appreciate you guys having me on today, and be able to talk about javelin a little bit more, and get some knowledge out there for the stick throwers and whatnot. And
the stick throwers, like they're their own tribesmen. No, it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to put together my toilet papering gang. Peyton's like, listen, when my squad shows up, you guys might want to get out of the house, bro. We're throwing shit through the house, right? But I will tell you, man, having you on's been a pleasure, honestly. And, whatever God's got in store for you, the path that he's going to take you down, I think you're going to do it with grace and a lot of hard work. And I'm thrilled for you, man. And I look forward to talking about the Javelin now, something that I didn't know anything about, and to be able to talk about that with the young kids I'm around, say, hey, we got a guy we're rooting for. He's American. He's going to have an opportunity to throw in the Olympics.
Are you kidding me? Chris and I we'll be in fucking Los Angeles Coliseum.
Buddy, you make the Olympics, you can bet your sweet ass the YB Normal Boys will be there, because there is nothing.
I'll have 2 tickets for sure.
Hey, let me tell you something. There is nothing normal about making the Olympics, pal. So at the YB Normal Show, that's what we want to recognize. Everybody that is not going to accept normality is a functioning part of their life. And right now, you keep doing that shit. Quit being YB Normal, baby. I love it. And just follow your path. And we wish nothing but the best for you. But we're taking you up on those 2 tickets, dude. This is no bullshit, Pete. This is live. Dude, this is on YouTube, so this ain't going anywhere. So when you do make it, Pete and I will be there, pal.
All right. You guys can hold me to it.
Yep, you got it. So from me here, Chris Branson, your co-host, my man, Petey Pop, as always, our guy, special guest on today, Payton Shippee, freaking javelin throw, man. Kent State University. Follow him. Please look him up. Let's keep him in our prayers for the Olympics. And Peyton, again, thank you for everything, pal, and be good, and God bless you guys. We're out.